Hey everyone, this is Selena here. Welcome to Troubleshooting Tuesdays. Today's question is about what slows down GSH, glutathione, that sort of thing. We've talked about in the past about slowing down MTHFR. So let's look at some of the other key genes that we hear a lot about and what can slow that process down or even maybe speed it up. So I'm going to go to my favorite pathway planner that you all have probably seen, and that is by Ben Lynch. He's got a really good illustration here of cofactors that are needed, things which slow things down, things which speed them up, and how things are interconnected. So we're going to focus over here today on this bottom right, which is your transsulfuration, which is also the detox cycle. So let me kind of zoom into transsulfuration, and here we go. So the top there is the homocysteine. That's going to kind of where the homocysteine comes from, that methylation methionine cycle, and you just follow the arrows on these pathways. So you just kind of follow where the arrows go. That's kind of how things move. A couple other things to note here, cofactors are these like curved arrows with the green abbreviation. So that means these are other building blocks or other ingredients that are needed at that particular step. So having one piece, if we don't have the other ingredients, can slow these things down. So glutathione is down here at the bottom. And so anything that's above it has the potential to slow it down. So the first thing we could have is we just don't have enough of those pre-factors that are happening prior to we getting to glutathione. So we're not having enough homocysteine, which then kind of goes back into the MTHFR, MTR, MTRR, the B12, folate, all of that kind of stuff. The other thing that can slow these things down is we have, whether or not we have a SNP or not, there's going to be different signals in our body that will kind of turn genes on and off. So you see those here in the purple. He has them illustrated with kind of this, like it's stopping and slowing that gene down. So down here for glutathione, if you have things up here that are slowing it down, we don't have enough homocysteine or cystathione or cysteine, we have other things like peroxynitrite or testosterone that's going to slow that down, then we may not have enough glutathione later on. The next thing that can happen is we aren't recycling down here. So we get down here to the glutathione, and we've got these things here. Well, then we're still not getting some of these other enzymes, which are they're cofactors, but they're also like other steps in the equation that need to happen for this glutathione. So with glutathione, is really important to have this cycle of recycling. So it recycles around. So glutathione, then it goes and attaches to the toxin, and hormones also have to get detoxed. So it's not just chemicals. We think that, oh, I'm avoiding chemicals, but our hormones have to also be detoxed. So it's important that this glutathione recycles around. So it gets here, it gets down to the bottom, this oxidized glutathione, that's the toxic form. So it has the glutathione and the toxin, and it's almost kind of like the toxin on steroids. So it's even almost more dangerous and can be more inflammatory than just the toxin by itself. So if it gets stuck down here and we can't keep moving around, that can be very problematic. So this needs FAD here at the GSR, and then we also need this NADPH to go to NAD+. And so that leads us to where does this NADP come from? So that comes from that biopterin cycle over here. And I'm not sure why Ben stops at NAD. So over here on this far left, which is kind of like considered your neurotransmitter type cycle, tryptophan, it comes from the tryptophan metabolism. You're going to come down to make NAD, NADP, NADPH, all those kinds of this whole NAD family of enzymes, and they're going to be used throughout the body. So that is a key area when it comes to glutathione, is what is going on over here in that cycle. So I want to look a little bit closer at the biopterin cycle because there's some really key ingredients or key nutrients that are also needed there. And that is iron metabolism. So we have tryptophan right here about in the middle is TPH. It can go over here to make serotonin and then also melatonin. So that's kind of like your sleepiness, that kind of thing. But the tryptophan also comes over here and it's going to go down here to make NAD. And so a lot of, you'll see this in the functional medicine world, we'll focus on the quinolinic acid because quinolinic acid is very excitatory. We see it elevated a lot in things like autism, ADHD, and those kinds of things. So they think, oh, quinolinic acid is bad. We don't want that. We want to only go over there to the 5-HTP, make serotonin, melatonin, because that's the good side. That's actually false because what's happening here is that the body can't convert and get this pathway working, the NAD producing. So it's putting more there, trying to get that NAD because we need the things that come after the quinolinic acid. And so when we see that elevated, we know that, okay, there is a problem here. So one of the key things I'm going to look at first is iron. So iron dysregulation is a big thing when it comes to this cycle, because if we have iron dysregulated, it can go to something called the Fenton reaction. And I've got a whole video on the Fenton reaction and NOS uncoupling. So that's right here, pretty much smack in the middle here. This uncoupled NOS will increase the reactive oxygenated species. It's going to increase the inflammation in our body. And we're not going to be able to detox. We're going to have a much more difficult time keeping things in balance and keeping things in harmony. So that's the other thing to look at when it comes to our glutathione, is to get outside of just that glutathione pathway. Look at things that are connected to it, especially over here in the biofilm cycle, and things to do with iron and to do with copper. So I'll go back to transsulfuration here. So we came down here in the middle, come to glutathione, and so on this one side we could get stuck here where it's not recycling. Well, we can come over here on this other side where we can't even get to getting a hold of the oxidized the toxin to actually get that oxidative state. So copper, zinc is needed at the SOD here. Omega-3s will slow that down. So sometimes too much of a good thing can slow down the things that we actually need to clear out toxins. This no here, this nitric oxide goes back to the biofilm cycle that I just spoke about. Right here, this nitric oxide, if it becomes the iNOS versus the eNOS, then we're going to need SOD to clear it out. So that's where, we get into a lot of these catch-22 scenarios and how things are webbed, like this all interweaved together. It's really important to look outside of just the glutathione pathway. And why? It's not always about, oh, I just need to go take NAC. You'll hear a lot about NAC, N-acetylcysteine, which is right here. It's a precursor to glutathione. So sometimes, yes, we do need more cysteine. However, that's not necessarily always going to be the problem as to why glutathione isn't working. So I really caution against a one-size-fits-all when it comes to looking at glutathione, when it comes to looking at MTHFR, and how all of those things are connected and what's slowing down. Why can I not detox? Real quick to mention on that as well is when we look at the heavy metals, like the reason why we need to detox, if we've got a lot of hormones, if we have a lot of heavy metals, those things can also slow down this right here. So if we're slowing down the very thing that we need to work to get out, we kind of get stuck in a really bad catch-22. And this is where you got to really navigate that very carefully, because you can push things before the toilet is unclogged. And so we get into a situation where we've got a clogged toilet, we have a ton of waste in there, a lot of toxins. Well, adding more water to it is not going to fix the clog underneath, and it's going to create a huge mess. So we have to kind of navigate it very carefully, very slowly. If anyone's had a toilet that was like almost filled to the brim, you didn't take your plunger and just go, like, you were very carefully because you didn't want to make this big old mess in your bathroom. So that's kind of the same way when we're detoxing. If we have something that's slow in that glutathione, we got to say, okay, let's take a step back. Let's assess the situation. Let's look what's going on and navigate it very carefully. So you are always welcome to reach out to me if you have any questions. I welcome those. I even have a link down below that you can get a free strategy session. Let's say, hey, let's just do a little powwow together to help get you moving forward. If you have any questions, let me know, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Take care.